The faster you get things done on your podcast, the better. But spend 90% of your time in upfront planning. Here's how podcasters resolve that opposite sounding advice in different ways all the time. Hello and welcome to another Podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. Abe Lincoln reportedly said that if he had 6 hours to chop down a tree, he'd spend the first 4 sharpening his axe. Now, the fact that that's apocryphal, meaning it didn't really happen, or maybe it did, who knows, who cares, that's really not important. It's the sentiment. It's the idea that you should spend lots of time preparing before you actually do something. And also, that is kind of the perfect example of the ideal way to operate, which may sound weird. And that ideal way to operate is doing lots of prep, slow preparation, and then fast execution. Slow preparation, and then fast execution. Sounds weird, but that's the preferred way of doing things. But however, that can't be the only way we do things, right? We want to work in the perfect world, but look, here's the reality. We don't live in a perfect world. We can't work in a perfect world. We have to adjust and adapt to all things. So when I see things like slow versus fast and 2 things, it automatically makes my mind go, well, let's build a 2x2 grid. I love 2x2 grids. They're great illustrations that you can put together. And it's pretty simple. Just draw a graph. And on the bottom for my graph that I happen to have here, and you can just picture this in your mind, I've got the speed in which we prep. So slow preparation, which takes a long time, or really, really fast preparation across to the right. And then on the up and down axis, I know it's called the x-axis and the y-axis, but let's not worry about that. On the up and down axis, let's put how quickly you execute. Again, from slow to fast, right? And start prepping these things. Start laying out some of the things that you do. Now, you're going to automatically, when you have a 2x2 grid, you get into quadrants. And quadrants where I want to talk about. So, as I said previously, we really like slow prep and fast execution, but let's start with this by doing the opposite of that. What do I mean by a podcasting process that is fast preparation, which means short preparation, and slow execution that takes a long time to execute? So again, fast prep, which means not a lot of time spent prepping, and then execution slow, drawn out execution. Now, we don't want to be there. This is what I refer to as the festering quadrant. Things that go here, they tend to fester. They'll eventually get done, but, you're not really in a hurry to do that. As an example of that, the reality faced, because we have to do those, I will use me as an example for all of these things. My new YouTube channel, where I finally decided to take all of the videos from Podcast Pontifications that I've been putting on my personal channel, which has my old speaking gigs, current speaking gigs, all of my travel stuff. It's just a nightmare. I'm breaking those things out. My decision process to do that was I need to do that. It's been in the back of my mind, but I hadn't really considered what it was required to do. And one day I just decided to do it. One day I decided to heck with it. It's a Friday. I'm just going to build this YouTube channel. Extremely fast prep work. I asked 2 friends some questions, avoiding pitfalls, and I started doing it. Well, I've started doing it, but I've got like 343 videos, and it's taking me a very long time to actually execute. That's because it lives in the festering quadrant. That's fast prep with slow execution. What about the opposite? What about fast preparation and fast execution? So not the opposite. What about fast and fast? Fast preparation and fast execution. So again, really, really short time to prepare and really, really short time to execute. Well, honestly, this episode of the program, for me, is that. Most of the episodes of this program for my show are that. Now, I can get away with it because this is the format I have established over the last several years I've been doing this. It's a short form podcast, and I've got a process that is really well oiled. And when I do it, I do it. So this morning when I knew I was talking about this, I knew the topic last night, but I didn't really have all of the details done. Those were all done and decided, well, it was decided in the shower, how I was going to structure these conversations and what examples I was going to put in there. And then the execution was really, really quickly because I have about 30 minutes to get all of that done. So that can totally happen. That's the today quadrant, right? And a lot of us live in this today quadrant where we have to go really fast on our prep and really fast on our execution. But not on all things. Some things we have to do. We can't operate that way always. What about slow and long preparation as well as slow and long execution? Well, this is the limbo quadrant. If you thought the festering quadrant was bad previously, this is the limbo quadrant. This is the quadrant where things go to die. They're probably never going to happen. Or if they eventually do, it will be a long time coming. Now, my example of that I am fighting with all the time, actually I'm not fighting with it because it's stuck in the limbo quadrant, is I need a way to communicate with all of my clients easily. And I haven't found it. I communicate with all of my clients, don't get me wrong, but I mean en masse. Like, if I want to send a note to every single one of my clients that says, hey, Amazon Music is now live, and your podcast is already listed there because that's what we do for you, I have to do that individually. Now, there are a lot of ways I could do it en masse. I just haven't done it. I'm not looking for advice or suggestions from you because I know I can do there, but I just don't like any of the current solutions. So my preparation time is forever. And my execution time, since I haven't done it yet, has also been forever. So that's a limbo thing for me, and I need to work on that. But what are you going to do? I've got other things to do with my time. So let's get to the sweet spot, what we talked about. Slow preparation, which means take a long time to deliberate, and fast execution. That's the sweet spot. Slow, long prep, fast execution. 2 examples from me. My redesigned website, which I did last year, I think it was. I forgot. The time is so weird and wonky, whatever. I spent a lot of time deliberating what kind of website I wanted to have. I knew what I didn't want to have, but I had to, and choosing other options was problematic, and I spent weeks looking through requirements, looking at examples, talking with support systems, making sure that my solution was going to be correct. And when it was correct, I already had all the details of what the pages are going to look like, the layout done. All of that was done up front. So my execution time was really fast. Turned it around fast. Even for me, a non-web developer, I turned it around really quickly. The other example of that is when I decided to start using Substack to replace my previous email program, because people can subscribe to Substack for free and they get a written copy of the episode, fully rewritten copy of the episode, as well as the audio link. I did that with Substack, but again, I spent a lot of time analyzing and investigating, talking to people, making sure that this decision I was going to make was the right one. And then once I made that decision, boom, switched it over in a day, started sending things out, backfilled it maybe over the course of maybe 2 days, and it's becoming my fastest growing channel of how people consume my content. So definitely a success doing slow preparation, fast execution. But again, I can't do that always. I'd love to say I'm always going to do slow prep, fast execution, but the reality is I live in the today world where I've got to go fast on both my preparation and my execution. Sometimes I've got things stuck in that festering quadrant where there are very, very fast preparation times, but I'm slow to execute. And then sometimes I'm just slow on both of them. And that's just reality. We all live there, and we should all forgive ourselves about that and try our best to work in that sweet spot of slow prep, fast execution as often as we can. Now, maybe you have a procrastinating fellow podcaster in your life, or the opposite, somebody with the attention span of a bunny doing lines of coke. Do we still do lines of coke? I don't even know. So send them, in this case, this episode and a personal note saying, hey, check out some of these ideas. Maybe it will help you either get past your hurdle or take another moment to think about things. Yeah, send that to them with a personal note. I would certainly appreciate it. And finally, if you like the things I'm bringing to you 4 days a week, please go to buymeacoffee.com/evoterra and sign up for membership of the program. It's a couple bucks. Helps show me that you really appreciate what is happening here at Podcast Pontifications in all of its glory. That's it. I shall see you tomorrow with yet another Podcast Pontifications. Cheers!